Learn something new every day. Thank you. We'd like to thank the Asian Women at Work drummers. Sorry about our technical difficulties earlier. You can hear us all much better now. My name's Tara. I'm from the Electrical Trades Union, and I'd like to welcome everyone here today. Along with me is Mel.
Hi, I'm Mel. I'm from Hairstylists Australia. I'm the organiser for it, and I'm a hair and beauty trades person for 13 years as well. So the first organiser for hair and beauty workers in Australia. Very, very big deal. Female-dominated trade from the shop floor. All right, so I'll bring it over to Yvonne. Thank you. Hello. Hello, ladies and gentlemen, sisters and brothers. My name is Yvonne Weldon. I stand before you as a sovereign Wiradjuri woman. I come from Cowra, here in New South Wales. I'm from the waters of the Clare, which is also known as the Lachlan, and of the Murrumbidgee rivers. I am a sovereign woman, and I have never ceded my rights. I am the chairperson of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, who are the culture authority under the Aboriginal Land Rights Act for the land that we're on. I'd like to pay my respects to all elders past and present, to all First Nations, to you, and the many nations of lands that you travelled from today. I'd like to pay my respects to all elders past and present, and I would like to acknowledge all of the many women that have sacrificed so much of themselves. My people's boundaries are known and are lived and are embedded into our country, not from roads and man-made landmarks, but through the Earth's landscapes. The Eora Nations countries, the Hawkes River in the north, the Nepean in the west, and the Georges River in the south. On behalf of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, the elders and the members, I welcome everyone to the land of the Gadigal. I acknowledge the Gadigal people whose spirits and ancestors will always remain with this land, our Mother Earth. Across this beautiful continent of ours, there are hundreds of nations, tribes and clans existing here for over 60,000 years. My people are the oldest living culture of the world. Aboriginal culture and our customs has a strong inclusion and importance of women leading and showing the way for all. In my life, I've been privileged by many incredible Wiradjuri women. My aunts, my grandmothers, and of course my mother. And to give recognition of never-ending dedication of women, could you all please pause for a moment to remember the many sacrifices us women have made along the way, the ones we will continue to make, and the ones we shouldn't have to. Let us remember the many women that paved the way for all of us, for the ones walking beside us, and others soon to be following in our footsteps. We must honour and recognise them, to keep their trailblazing alive and burning bright inside us all, making our society, our world inclusive, breaking through barriers and not creating them. Together, we can bring about positive changes to multiple generations, starting a healing to the past generations of what should not have taken place, to the present day generations, giving us hope and creating a future for the next generations, for everyone in this country. Whatever walks of life we come from, if you don't know it already, us women rule the world. And along with the mighty men in our lives that leave their egos at the door, walking beside us, fortifying our steps together, we can make positive changes if we truly go forward together by working in partnerships equally. Just as the 2018 NAIDOC theme of "Because of Her We Can," it is because of you we are. Know that in the footsteps of my ancestors, we can walk together. Leave those prints as they stand. So let us all draw upon my people's spirits as we continue on our journey. May my people's spirits walk with you and guide you as we strive forward for us all. Again, on behalf of the Metropolitan Local Aboriginal Land Council, welcome to Gadigal land. This always was, always will be Aboriginal land. Thank you and have a wonderful week.
Thank you. Thank you, Yvonne. Hopefully this will stay for a little while.
Where's
Norm! This speaker doesn't like us very much today. Do you want to stay?
Oh, I can yell.
Sorry guys,
Hello? None. Hello? All right, we got the technically proper issues working again, thankfully. So let's thank Yvonne for that. Thank you, Yvonne. That was amazing.
Welcome to the importance of International Women's Day this year. So we have a special theme this year, which is hashtag Choose to Challenge. Information on that you can talk about, and the theme gets to people all over the internet using those hashtags. The International Women's Day 2021 campaign theme is a challenge world and an alert world. Individuality, we're all responsible for our own thoughts and actions all day, every day. We can all choose to challenge and call out gender bias and inequality. We can all choose to seek out to celebrate women's achievements. Collectivity, we can all help create an inclusive world. From challenge comes change, so let's all choose to challenge. Show your support and solidarity. Raise your hands high to show you're in and that you commit to choose to challenge and call out inequality. Strike the choose to challenge. Pose and share on social media using hashtag choose to challenge, hashtag Sydney International Women's Day 2021 and IWD 2021 to encourage further people to commit to helping forge an inclusive world.
Hey! Slow down.
all right, we'll try again. Thank you, I did nothing. So, I'm pretty sure maybe everyone missed that, yeah? So what Mel was just explaining, that this year's theme for International Women's Day is Choose to Challenge. Choose to challenge things like gender bias and inequality, and we choose to seek out and celebrate women's achievements. Collectively, we can help to create an inclusive world. So the theme of Choose to Challenge is everyone takes a photo of themselves with one hand up, and that's taking, what do you call it?
Selfie?
Taking a pledge to choose to challenge. So if you take a photo, if everyone takes a photo and hashtags choose to challenge, that'd be great for today. We'd like to thank the sponsors, really important. They've helped keep our generator running today. Sorry guys. So we've got Aware Super, Australian Super, Hall and Payne Law Firm, Morris Blackburn Law Firm, McNally's Law Firm, and Slater and Gordon. Now we've got many unions to thank, so I hope everyone's ready, because unions are the best. First of all, Unions New South Wales for putting all of this together and running it. We've got the Australian Meat Industry Employees Union. There she is. Australian Salaried Medical Officers Federation. The Australian Meat Industry Employees Union New South Wales and Newcastle branch. Sorry guys, I didn't get that one right. The ASU, Australian Services Union. The Australian Workers Union, AWU. New South Wales Nurses and Midwives Association. Oh, it's a bit late. National Tertiary and Education Union. PSA, Public Service Association. The Shoppies, Shop Distributed and Allies Employees Association. Sorry, I got a bit tired. And the USU, United Services Union. And all our International Women's Day Committee. All of those sponsors have helped to put everything together and to make today possible. So thank you, everyone.
The ETU for Tara. So, I've been asked to hop on this stage and talk about a big, widely, deeply felt issue through the world, I dare say. So, as a victim of domestic violence myself, I just would like to share to you a 1 minute of silence. I'm a very lucky survivor. I had a 5mm fragment in my spinal cord. I'm lucky to be walking. So this is all about time, and it's very happy for all of us women to come together and stand together collectively. Enough is enough. Family violence, not just to women, but also to men as well. Family violence needs to become for a stop, and it also needs to become a paid leave, 110%. So can we please make a 1 minute silence for those domestic violence victims?
Thank you, everyone. So I'd like to introduce our first speaker, Beverly Baker. Beverly is from the Older Women's Network, also known as OWN. So Beverly has served as the president of the Federation of Parents and Citizens Associations New South Wales, advocating for parents with students in public schools. She has been instrumental in the establishment and running of a number of charities, notably the FSHD Global Research Foundation. Bev is a committed feminist. She is current CEO of the Aboriginal Education Council. Beverly brings her energy and enthusiasm to assisting older women retaining their dignity and relevance in a society that too easily marginalises them. Beverly here is today to talk to everyone about how older women have been impacted by COVID, homelessness, and economic insecurity. Please join me in welcoming Beverly.
Thank you very much. I would also like to acknowledge that we meet today on the land of the Gadigal people of the Eora Nation, land that was never ceded. This is the 93rd anniversary of the International Women's Day. 93. That's a pretty old woman. And it's something that I think we need to think very carefully about. Because in spite of all of the dreadful things we've been hearing over the last week going on in our national capital and the highlighting of the impact on women, lurking in that 2-year report was a disgraceful statistic, and that was that 50 women a week who are in aged care facilities or in their own home are suffering sexual abuse. This is an outrage. It means that our most vulnerable are not only in poverty, facing homelessness, but at the end of their lives, they have the thing that they are completely and utterly denied, as they are then once again used by people for their own gains. Now, this just isn't about older women. This is about all of us, because younger women are suffering homelessness, gig economy, lousy wages, the same as older women are. And unless we can work together, unless we can reach back across the generations, when young women become my age, and I'm 71, the situation for you is going to be a lot worse than it is for me. I am fortunate. I own my own home. But so many of you will never do that. You will be at the mercy of a deregulated, uncontrolled market of greed and self-service and self-satisfaction. What we must do is rebuild the things that for 93 years women have been fighting for. We do not want to see the statistic continue to grow, that the fastest growing demography for homelessness is women over the age of 55. We do not want to see the newly emerging statistic that the age for unemployment is now not 55, but 45. 45. Young, energetic, highly educated, talented women are on the employment scrap heap and have to face the most insulting and dehumanising process of collecting whatever they call the jolly thing now, but unemployment benefit, as they are forced to apply for jobs they know they will never get and that aren't there in the first place. So what I want to do is to reach out back across the generations and get us all to hold hands, because the pain of one is the pain of all. The suffering of one is the suffering of all. And the dispossession of one is the dispossession of all. So please, women, join together. Roar with the voice of the lion and scare the bejesus out of the patriarchy.
Thanks, Beverly. That was a really, really well speech. Thank you for that. So our second guest speaker is Trish Doyle from the Australian Labor Party, our New South Wales member for the Blue Mountains, Shadow Minister for the Emergency Services, Shadow Minister for the Prevention of Domestic Violence, and Shadow Minister for Women all round.
I think I'm too tall for this space. Too loud and too tall for this space. Can you hear me at the back? I am proud to be union. I am proud to be feminist. I am proud to be old working class Labor. And I am proud, under the leadership of Jodie McKay, to be in the first shadow cabinet of 50% women. I wear a badge from the 1970s liberation movement, and it says, "Dare to struggle, dare to win." And that's my mantra through life. That is the challenge I chose many moons ago when I decided I could and I needed to be more and do more than exist as a poverty-stricken child and a victim of violence. So my question is, what do you choose as a challenge? In 1972, Robin Morgan wrote a poem called Monster, and it was a call to action for the women's movement. Morgan said it was a rallying cry for women, and they made it their own. It unlocked and it expressed a grief and a rage that was suffocating women. And I want to share a bit of that with you today. I share it for the warrior women of the past who, especially my old mate Margaret Jones, whose hat I wear today, who fought the fight with volume and anger and pride. I share it for all the young women, the girls out there who are outraged and energised right now, and they will make changes in this world. They will no longer be silenced. Annabelle Crabb said today at an IWD event that girls are actually showing us the way. They are shifting the guilt and the responsibility from victims to the perpetrators. And they are demanding that consent education is part of our curriculum. This is for the good men who walk the journey with us. And many of you are here tonight. And I just want to call out a couple. My mate Alex Classens over there of the RTBU, who has many women as organisers amongst his crew. And Adam Searle, member of the Legislative Council, who has supported me every step of the way as a local member. Thank you to the good men who walk the journey with us. And to all the women out there who work their guts out, and especially have in the last year through COVID, who are underpaid or unpaid, who have become casualised through COVID or lost their jobs, who are the absolute foundation of our society and our economy, who survive, who are part of our survival. And I will pick out a few of those. They are our nurses, they are our teachers, they are our carers, our cleaners, and thanks to the unions who support them. Robin Morgan, who was a warrior woman back in the 70s, would be horrified that we are here again today. And she said, "I want a woman's revolution like a lover. I lust for it. I want so much this freedom, this end to struggle and fear and lies that we all exhale, that I could die just with the passionate uttering of that desire. I want a woman's revolution." So I say to you all, dare to struggle, dare to win.
Thank you, Tris. So our next speaker is Jenny Leong. She's the Greens member for Newtown. So Jenny spent some time working for Amnesty International, and she's also spent a few years on the Human Rights Law Resource Centre Advisory Committee. It's a mouthful. Welcome, Jenny.
Thank you so much for having me, and I'm also a proud member of the ASU, so a shout out to my union that's here today as well. It is an absolute honour to be here on Gadigal land and to address you all for International Women's Day. I thank Auntie Yvonne for her incredible welcome, and thank Aboriginal women leaders, elders and young leaders who are standing up and continuing this struggle for First Nations justice in this country. Let us not just acknowledge that we are on Gadigal land. Let us not just do this as a mark of protocol and a sign of respect, but let us commit that whether it be in our unions, in our workplaces, in our feminist organising spaces, that we will continue the struggle and follow the lead of strong Aboriginal women until there is justice for First Nations people in this country. It is an absolute pleasure to be here. I don't think anyone's feeling very happy about the idea of International Women's Day. I think we all feel a little bit unsure about whether we should be wishing each other happy International Women's Day today. But I want to take a minute to be able to say that the movement and the inspiration and the struggle that we have seen and been inspired by as a result of young women stepping up and disclosing former students, current students, the issues of sexual assault and sexual violence perpetrated to them while they were at school has been incredible. And I was proud to join with cross-party women MPs this morning to support the launch of their consent education petition, which went this morning from 0 signatures. It's now over 1,500 signatures and will grow strong until we get a debate in that parliament. So the old white men in suits need to listen to the kind of toxic masculinity that young women in schools are facing every single day. I also want to do a shout out to the fact that we have had some incredible Asian women workers dancing at the start of this celebration, and recognise that women of colour suffer at a higher rate in terms of the disadvantage and the discrimination and the toxic masculinity and the incomplete concerns around their respect as women and as individuals. Whether it be the young 2 girls that are currently detained as a result of the Morrison government's horrific asylum seeker policy and the treatment of refugees and asylum seekers, whether it be the underpayment of an international student struggling to be able to make ends meet because they're trying to deliver on a dangerous bicycle on a dangerous road in Sydney to be able to pay rent, or even as we see Meghan Markle today disclosing the levels of racism she experienced by the royal family, from the youngest child to the most known and public figure. Women of colour suffer badly, and I want to pay respect to the women of colour leaders in our union movement and throughout our feminist organising spaces for the extra effort you go to stand up against the patriarchy as well as standing up against systemic racism. So thank you for your leadership. Finally, I want to say this. If there was ever a movement of people that knows that the people in power write the rules to protect themselves and their own power, it is people that are in the union movement. If there was ever a struggle that understood the need to change their patriarchal and colonialistic rules to make sure that they work for women, not perpetrators of violence, then it is the people in the union movement. So can I say, let us all work together. Let us all push for change. Let us not get caught up in divisions and divides. Let us be inclusive. Let us be encouraging, and let us grow big so that we finally move to a world where sexual violence and sexual assault and sexual harassment is a thing of the past that no longer stops women participating fully in our society. I'm Jenny Leong. I'm the Greens Women's spokesperson. Thanks so much for coming out today.
Thanks, Jenny. God, that was powerful. That was awesome. Thanks, Jenny. So our 4th guest speaker is Chloe. She's a transformative leader who has written a submission called Cohesive Control in Domestic Relationships. We're thrilled to have Chloe speaking next. If you have not heard of Chloe, she's a world record-holding marathon swimmer who has swum the longest non-stop ocean swim in history at 124 kilometres. Last year, she swam her 35th crossing of the English Channel. This crossing beat the men's world record of 34 times channel crossings. This phenomenal feat garnered international media attention, which Chloe used to shine a light on and advocate for women experiencing domestic violence during lockdowns across the world. Last year, the Australian Women's Weekly ran a feature article about her swimming and DV experience to support their push as part of a larger campaign. To criminalise cohesive control, she was also one of Mary Claire's 2020 Women of the Year. Today she speaks to us about her personal experience of DV and shares her crucial messaging. I'll hand it over to Chloe.
Thank you very much for the invitation to speak today. Please raise your hand if you are sick of violence against women being minimised by politicians. Thank you. Raise your hand if you want the media to take all violence against women seriously, not just a few times every decade. Thank you. Raise your hand if you want a safer, better world, not just for your sisters, grandmothers, cousins, daughters, but for women that you have never met, you will never meet, you will never know, and for future generations. Thank you. The last 4 months, and especially the last few weeks, have seen an unprecedented spotlight on the appalling and violent conduct of men in power in Australia. The conduct of some powerful Australian politicians and staffers during their current political and or previous lives in politics has been publicised widely. For anyone who has been triggered by hearing those reports, I want to acknowledge you and acknowledge your experiences. I hear you, I see you, I believe you, and I share your pain. It's okay not to be feeling okay right now. I know that it's difficult for a variety of reasons to speak up when you've been violated. Standing up publicly carries with it many and varied risks. For every woman who has publicly stood up and shared their story of experiencing violence to their family, their friends, in their local community, to the police, to lawyers, to support services, to the courts, to the media, I commend you for your bravery. I want to share a small part of my personal story today. I believe sharing personal stories is a powerful way to make our voices heard and to give us a chance not only to heal, but also to mobilize towards positive change for women right now and for future generations. Sharing our stories shows how common our experiences of being violated are and helps build momentum for change. If you can share your experiences, please do. If you can't, that's okay too. Please try and support other women who are sharing publicly if it's safe for you to do so. Now, to cut a very, very long story short, I was in a relationship where the magistrate described it as extensive domestic violence. When we were in court, we were there because my perpetrator had falsely accused me of assault. On the night in question, the perpetrator had told the police that I had assaulted him, and on this pure allegation alone, they put a temporary safety notice against me, evicting me from my home and also my place of business. I had naively believed the police could be called on for help. My perpetrator used the police to represent him in court, as he attempted to further take away my rights through a 2 full-year intervention order. My own private lawyer told me to give in to the police, because in his words, the police never back down. Against my lawyer's advice, I kept fighting his attempt to secure a full intervention order against me. In a later hearing, the police withdrew their case, where my ex's full history of interaction with the police came to light. I eventually got a full intervention order and he was denied one against me. He was also taken to court by police for allegedly breaching the interim intervention order against him, and I didn't hear from him then on, thank God. I struggled with anxiety and post-traumatic stress disorder, which was diagnosed from my experiences of domestic violence. My business suffered. My mental health suffered. With great kindness and support from friends and family, I managed to swim the English Channel 3 times that year in 2018. And then I swam it 4 times the next year in 2019. And then last year, I beat the men's world record of 34 crossings and swam it 6 times last year. Thank you. I have been trying to find a new normal life. In 2018, I cried into my goggles to try and process some of the trauma whilst I was swimming the English Channel after a year of going through the courts, dealing with police and the legal system. Last year, I found the courage to speak to the international media about my concern for domestic violence, which rates had gone up during lockdowns across the world, and I didn't initially speak about my personal experiences. Then Genevieve Gunnan, a journalist from the Australian Women's Weekly, reached out after my 35th Channel swim to see if I would speak to the magazine about a campaign they were running to support a push to criminalise coercive control. Of course I would speak to her, I said, and they ran a full-page feature, 5-page feature article in November last year. Now, my perpetrator has hired lawyers who have sent a legal notice to the representatives of the Australian Women's Weekly, making all sorts of claims. The Australian Women's Weekly, their lawyers and I are fighting this legal action. I will not stand down to my perpetrator. In 2018, I stood up against the police, my perpetrator, went against my own lawyer's advice, and I won. I'm going to keep fighting my perpetrator if he keeps trying to silence me. I refuse to let the police, courts, or my perpetrator silence me. I am here today in this public arena on this very special day, International Women's Day, to symbolically stand with all the courageous women who have spoken out against abuse, assaults, and rape. I also stand with you who have courageously lived through horrific experiences of abuse, assault, and rape, and who for your own reasons have chosen not to speak out.